Hey everyone. I am Six Path Weeb, and welcome back to the channel where imagination meets the world of anime storytelling. Today, we continue our journey into an intense and emotional alternate universe with What If the Godaime Hid Naruko's True Power? Part 2. In this series, we explore hidden truths, untold strength, and the consequences of secrets that could change everything we thought we knew. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. The content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, without wasting any more time, let's dive straight into the story. Naruko stood beneath the wide blue sky, her golden hair dancing in the wind. Her bright eyes were filled not with anger, but with determination. She had learned long ago that true strength came from protecting others, not hurting them. Ahead of her were two mysterious travelers wearing dark cloaks. They had taken her dear friend Gaara, who needed to be returned safely to his home and family. Naruko's heart ached at the thought of Gaara's loved ones waiting for him. She knew she had to act quickly, but wisely. "I won't let anyone be taken away from their home," she said softly, her voice steady and kind. With a gentle breath, Naruko focused her energy. The wind seemed to listen to her, swirling playfully around her feet as she moved forward with graceful speed. She didn't rush in with harm in mind, she moved with purpose, hoping to resolve things without anyone getting hurt. One of the cloaked figures, Deidara, looked surprised as Naruko appeared nearby. Before he could react, a strong gust of wind pushed him back, not as an attack, but as a warning to stay away. The other traveler, Sasori, watched carefully. He moved with unusual precision, guiding a puppet beside him. Naruko noticed this and realized that they relied on tools and tricks rather than understanding. "I don't want to fight you," Naruko called out. "Let's find a better way." But the two travelers were stubborn, and they tried to stop her with their abilities. Naruko stayed calm. With gentle movements, she deflected their attempts, always making sure not to cause harm. She used her skills like a dance, flowing, balanced, and careful. When Gaara began to fall from the sky, Naruko quickly acted. She summoned her trusted fox companion, Doro, who appeared in a soft puff of smoke. "Doro, please take Gaara home safely," she said. "Of course, Naruko-sama," the fox replied warmly, wrapping Gaara in her soft tail before dashing away like a streak of red and gold. Seeing this, the two travelers tried to stop Doro, but Naruko stepped in between them, not to fight, but to protect. She created a clever illusion, confusing them just long enough for Doro to escape. Naruko then turned back to the two. "It's not too late," she said gently. "You don't have to keep doing this. Everyone has a chance to choose a kinder path." For a moment, there was silence. Even the wind seemed to pause. Though the travelers didn't fully understand her words yet, something in Naruko's voice made them hesitate. She didn't see them as enemies, only as people who had lost their way. Naruko smiled softly, lowering her hands. "I believe you can change," she added. The tension in the air slowly faded. The battle that could have been harsh and painful instead became a quiet moment of reflection. And high above, the clouds drifted peacefully, as if the sky itself approved of Naruko's choice. Naruko took a steady breath, her bright eyes reflecting both courage and kindness. The field around her had grown quiet, though the air still shimmered with the energy of everything that had just happened. Where splinters of broken puppets once scattered, the wind now gently carried them away like fallen leaves. She brushed a bit of dust from her sleeve and tilted her head thoughtfully. "That's a lot of puppets," she said, her voice calm but curious rather than afraid. Across from her, Sasori stood surrounded by the floating figures, each one moving as if it had a life of its own. Strings of chakra glimmered faintly in the sunlight, connecting her opponent to every puppet. Naruko rested her hands on her hips and gave a small smile. "You must have worked really hard to make all of these," she said honestly. "They're impressive." For a moment, nothing moved. Even the puppets seemed to pause, as if surprised by her words. Naruko stepped forward lightly, her golden hair catching the breeze. "But you know," she continued, "things made by hands can be amazing. Especially when they're used to help people." Her gaze softened. She wasn't looking at the puppets anymore, she was looking at Sasori. "I don't think you really want to be alone behind all of this," she said gently. The puppets shifted slightly, their movements no longer as sharp or certain as before. Naruko raised her hand, and instead of rushing forward, she formed a simple sign. A soft swirl of wind gathered around her, not fierce or cutting, but warm and steady, like a friendly gust on a sunny day. A few shadow clones appeared beside her with small pops, each one smiling just like her. "Let's try something different," one of her clones said, waving cheerfully. Another clone picked up a fallen puppet piece and carefully set it upright. "These are too cool to just leave broken," she added. Naruko nodded. "Yeah. Maybe we can fix them together someday." The wind around her lifted gently, carrying away the tension that had filled the clearing. The puppets, once poised for attack, now hovered quietly, as if waiting. Naruko took one more step forward, her voice full of warmth. "You don't have to fight alone," she said. "There's always another way." The sunlight broke through the clouds above, casting a soft glow over the scene. And in that peaceful moment, the battlefield no longer felt like a place of conflict, but a place where something new could begin. At least half of the puppets hurried forward, gliding quickly toward Naruko. For a brief moment, she was surprised by how many puppets Sasori could guide at once, but she quickly steadied herself and focused. "Anmai Otan, Hyro Kabekyu no Jutsu, Yin-Yang Release, Gray Wall Sphere Technique," she called. A soft gray sphere formed gently around her. It did not look especially strong, but when the first wave of puppets reached it, they paused as if cushioned by an invisible force, then drifted backward, bumping harmlessly into others behind them. Seeing an opening, Naruko lowered the sphere and dashed forward with light, careful steps. She moved gracefully between the puppets, guiding them aside rather than striking them, her attention fixed on reaching Sasori. Sasori responded by directing his puppets to circle her from all sides, forming a tight ring around her. But Naruko remained calm. From her back, shimmering golden chains appeared, extending outward like rays of sunlight. They gently wrapped around several puppets, holding them in place so they could no longer move. Once the puppets were safely restrained, Naruko drew the chains back. She activated the bracer on her right arm, forming a glowing blade of chakra. Instead of using it to harm, she aimed carefully and used it to tap the core mechanism that controlled Sasori's puppet body, disabling it with precision. At that moment, a shadow clone she had created earlier emerged from below, lightly holding Sasori in place so he wouldn't fall abruptly. "It's over," Naruko said softly. The light in Sasori's eyes dimmed, not in defeat, but in stillness, as his puppet body became quiet and motionless. The many puppets around them dropped gently to the ground, no longer active. Naruko deactivated her chakra blade and stepped back, allowing everything to settle. The clone beneath Sasori disappeared in a small puff, and she carefully lowered his body to the ground with respect. "Well, that was something," she said quietly, stretching her shoulders before gathering her tools. Inside her seal, Kurama gave a small huff. "TCH, that ended quickly. You didn't even need my chakra." Naruko smiled slightly. "I didn't think it was necessary. This way, I can stay prepared for whatever comes next." "Fair enough," Kurama replied, though her tone still carried a hint of impatience. Naruko looked thoughtfully at Sasori's still form. "I think I should return to the Sand Village. I want to make sure everyone made it back safely. And there are things that deserve to be understood and remembered properly." With care, she secured everything she needed and prepared to leave. Not long after, a strange figure slowly rose from the ground nearby, quietly observing the scene. "That was quite something," one side of the figure remarked. "Yes," the other side replied. But Naruko handled it with ease. They retrieved a small ring from one of the inactive puppet parts and then moved on, disappearing as quietly as they had arrived. Far away, at the Anbu training grounds behind the Hokage monument, a gathering had formed. This place was usually reserved for highly skilled ninja, but today, several teams stood together under the open sky. Naruko's friends from different teams had arrived with their teachers, along with a few experienced shinobi. They were there not for battle, but to learn, grow, and prepare for the future together. The air felt calm and expectant, as if something important was about to begin. "All right, I assume you all know why you're here," Jiraiya said, looking at the gathered group with a calm but thoughtful expression. "Our objective is to bring back Naruko Uzumaki, former Genin of Konoha. Until we receive clear information about where she is, we'll focus on teamwork and preparing for what we might encounter. Because of that, I brought this with me." He gently held up a small book with a bookmark tucked inside. "A bingo book?" Sakura asked, tilting her head curiously. "Wait. Don't tell me Naruko is in it," Kiba blurted out, surprised at the idea. Jiraiya nodded. "I'm serious. Naruko has done many remarkable things over the past few years. However, she's been traveling under a different name, Kodama, also known as the Fox Spirit. She's kept her true identity hidden." He tossed the book to Shikamaru, who caught it and opened it carefully. The group leaned in as he read aloud. Dash. Name, Kodama, Fox Spirit. Real name, unknown. Age, estimated 19 to 21. Gender, female. Origin, unknown. Rank, wandering ninja. Known traits. Skilled in multiple ninja arts. Exceptional stamina and speed. Strong teamwork and leadership abilities. Appearance. A young woman with short, spiky red hair and warm, bright eyes. She often wears a long cloak with a red swirl on the back and a fox mask with blue markings. Special notes. Known for helping different villages and countries solve problems peacefully. She has guided communities, protected travelers, and brought hope wherever she goes. Dash. The group fell silent, their eyes wide, not in fear, but in amazement. She did all that? Ino whispered. Yes, Jiraiya said gently. Naruko has grown into someone truly remarkable. She's traveled far, helped many people, and learned things we can only imagine. Asuma crossed his arms thoughtfully. She's made friends in many places, Hoshigakur, Bird Country, even Moon Country. People respect her. She's become a symbol of kindness and strength. I know this is a lot to take in, Jiraiya continued. But understand this, Naruko isn't someone we can simply bring back. She has her own path now. Shino adjusted his glasses slightly. If I may, Jiraiya-sama. Considering everything we've learned, would it truly be wise to force her return? She has built meaningful connections and seems to be doing good for others. It may be better to approach her with understanding rather than insistence. Kiba frowned, though not angrily, just confused. Come on, Shino. You're saying she wouldn't want to come back? Sakura looked down at the page again, then smiled softly. I think. She still cares about us. But maybe she's finding her own way first. Jiraiya nodded. Exactly. Our goal isn't to drag her back, it's to reach her. To remind her she still has a home here, whenever she's ready. The group grew quiet again, but this time, there was a sense of warmth in the air. Far away, under a wide open sky, Naruko Uzumaki walked along a peaceful path, her cloak swaying gently in the breeze. She paused for a moment, looking up at the clouds, and smiled. Somewhere deep inside, she felt it, the quiet pull of home. I believe that is what I was saying, Shino replied calmly. After all that has happened to her in this village when she was growing up, with the banishment being the final nail in the coffin, do you believe Naruko would want to return? I do not. And I don't think it's just her skill level that has changed over the years. She won't take our attempts to bring her back to what she sees as her personal sadness kindly. Shino brings up several good points, Jiraiya commented. Once everyone's attention was on him again, the Toad Sage continued. Tsunade Haim and I have taken them all into consideration, but there are also other things we have to think about. One of them is a group called Akatsuki. All of its members are powerful missing ninja, and they are searching for people like Naruko, those who carry special chakra within them. We don't fully understand why, but we know it's important to keep her safe. If they are searching for Naruko, Neji added thoughtfully, then they may also be looking for others like her in different villages. Exactly, Jiraiya said. And that is one reason we want to bring her back. Not to control her, but to protect her. There are many in the world who don't understand people like Naruko. Some see them as tools instead of as people. We want to make sure she is surrounded by those who truly care for her. Yeah, Tenten said quietly, but it also sounds like the balance between villages is part of it too. Jiraiya nodded gently. It is. But that doesn't change the most important thing, Naruko is a person, not a weapon. And we want her to be safe and happy. The group grew quiet, each person thinking deeply. Sakura was the one who finally spoke again. Jiraiya-sama, in the book it mentioned that Naruko had a fifth unknown element. Do you know what it is? Jiraiya glanced at Kakashi, then smiled slightly. That is something Tsunade Haim should explain. That's why I'm here, Tsunade said as she appeared beside them. Everyone turned in surprise. I thought it was important, she continued, because this has to do with family. Family? Ino asked. Tsunade nodded. Has anyone here heard of the Uzumaki clan? The younger ninja exchanged puzzled looks. They were a remarkable clan, Tsunade explained. They were known for their strong life force, their bright red hair, and their incredible skill in special techniques. They valued kindness, resilience, and bonds with others above all else. That explains Naruko's red hair, Sasuke said quietly. And her unique abilities. Yes, Tsunade replied. Naruko carries that legacy within her. But there is more. Long ago, there was a member of the Uzumaki clan who had a very rare and special gift. It allowed him to shape chakra in ways that could create almost anything: structures, tools, even helpful companions made of energy. The group listened in awe. This ability wasn't about power alone, Tsunade continued softly. It was about creativity, balance, and understanding. And Naruko has inherited that same potential. Hinata clasped her hands gently. That sounds beautiful. It is, Tsunade said with a small smile. And it means Naruko has the ability to create, to protect, and to bring hope wherever she goes. Sasuke looked thoughtful. But how does she have this ability? Tsunade's expression softened. Because it runs in her family. Naruko's mother was part of the Uzumaki clan. That strength, that kindness, it was passed down to her. The group fell silent again, but this time the silence felt warmer, filled with understanding rather than shock. So Naruko isn't just someone we need to protect, Sakura said. She's someone who can change the world in her own way. Jiraiya chuckled. That's one way to put it. Tsunade nodded. Naruko has always had a bright spirit. Even when times were difficult, she never stopped believing in better days. That's her true strength. Far away, unseen by the group, two small shadows watched from atop a rock. But instead of fear, the moment held a quiet sense of wonder, as if the story of Naruko was only just beginning, full of light, friendship, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Land of Sound, Orochimaru's hideout, a gentle retelling. Deep within the quiet hills of the Land of Sound, a hidden chamber flickered with soft candlelight. Shelves of scrolls and curious objects lined the walls, and the air felt still, as if it were listening. At the center of the room sat Orochimaru, a mysterious figure known for her deep curiosity about the world's hidden secrets. Beside her stood her thoughtful assistant, Kabuto Yakashi, adjusting his glasses as he spoke. So, Orochimaru said slowly, her voice calm and thoughtful, the child of the nine-tailed fox still walks this world? Kabuto nodded gently. Yes. Though she now goes by a different name, Naruko. It took time to realize it, but there is no mistake. She has grown in remarkable ways. Far away from the shadows of the hideout, there was a bright and spirited girl named Naruko Uzumaki. With golden hair that danced in the sunlight and a heart full of determination, Naruko traveled the world not to hide, but to learn, help others, and discover who she truly was. She was once underestimated, Kabuto continued kindly. But now, she has become someone strong, not just in ability, but in spirit. Orochimaru smiled faintly, not with mischief, but with intrigue. Growth like hers is rare. There is something special about her, something connected to ancient stories and powerful origins. Kabuto tilted his head. You mean her heritage? Yes, Orochimaru replied. Long ago, there was a great sage who understood the balance of all things. His legacy was passed down through different families, each carrying a piece of his wisdom. Naruko's clan holds a unique part of that legacy, one tied to life, endurance, and creation. Kabuto listened closely, fascinated. So Naruko carries something truly extraordinary. She does, Orochimaru said softly. But what matters most is not power, it is how one chooses to use it. For a moment, the room fell quiet. Far away, Naruko stood on a grassy hill beneath a wide blue sky. She laughed as the wind played with her hair, her eyes shining with hope. She had faced challenges, yes, but each one had helped her grow kinder, wiser, and stronger. Back in the hideout, Kabuto carefully reached into his bag and pulled out a curious mask, shaped like a gentle spirit from old tales. I may have found something helpful, he said. Orochimaru studied it with interest, but her thoughts drifted elsewhere, not toward plans or schemes, but toward the bright future of a girl who refused to give up. Let us watch, she said at last. The world has its own way of unfolding stories. And in that world, Naruko continued her journey, spreading warmth, learning from every step, and proving that true strength comes not from power alone, but from kindness, courage, and believing in oneself. Spring Country, Daimyo's Palace. So did everything go okay? Koyuki asked as she looked at Naruko, who was now dressed in neat, formal attire once again. The two sat together in a quiet lounge, while a few guards stood at a respectful distance. Little Kiko played happily nearby with a set of old wooden toys. Naruko sat on the couch beside her daughter, keeping a gentle, watchful eye on her. Pretty much, Naruko replied with a calm smile. She picked up a small block Kiko had dropped and handed it back to her. There was some damage to the village, but it could have been much worse if not for Gaara. And what about Kazekage Dono? Koyuki asked. He woke up by the time I arrived, Naruko said. His family surrounded him right away. Tamari and Mitsuri were fussing over him for worrying them, while Kankuro just stood nearby, smiling quietly. The younger ones, Gakuto-chan and Kana-chan, held onto him tightly. I think they just needed to feel close to him. Uncle Gara hurt? Kiko asked softly, looking up with wide, worried eyes. Naruko's expression softened even more. She gently placed a hand on Kiko's red hair and gave it a comforting pat. No, sweetheart. He's all right. But if it helps, we can make him a get well card before we leave tomorrow. Kiko's face lit up instantly. Yes. Koyuki watched them with a small, wistful smile. So, you're leaving soon? Naruko nodded gently. Yes. It's safer that way. Staying in one place too long isn't a good idea right now. There are people looking for me, and I don't want to bring trouble here. Koyuki understood, even if it made her a little sad. You're always welcome here. Naruko gave her a grateful look before turning her attention back to Kiko, who was beginning to rub her eyes sleepily. All right, little fox, Naruko said softly. Time for bed. Kiko gave a small protest but leaned against her mother's shoulder anyway. Naruko carried her gently, wishing Koyuki good night before heading to their room. Soon, Kiko was tucked into bed, dressed in her soft yellow pajamas decorated with tiny fox kits. She hugged her favorite fox toy close, a peaceful smile resting on her face as she drifted into sleep. Naruko stood beside the bed, watching her daughter with warm, loving eyes. She leaned down and placed a soft kiss on Kiko's forehead. Sweet dreams, she whispered. Quietly, Naruko stepped out into the hallway. As she walked toward her own room, a familiar figure appeared beside her. Yujin, she greeted calmly. It went well, Yujin said, holding a pair of scrolls. I gathered the information you needed. Naruko listened carefully, her expression thoughtful. Good. Thank you. There is something else, Yujin added. A group has been formed to find you. People from your past. Naruko paused for a moment, her gaze drifting back toward Kiko's room. Her thoughts were quiet but steady. Our plans stay the same, she said at last. We leave tomorrow. Yujin nodded. And if you meet them? He asked gently. Naruko was silent for a moment. Then she spoke in a calm, steady voice. I'll protect what matters most. With that, she continued to her room. Later, as the palace grew still and peaceful, Naruko lay in bed, holding an old book she had kept carefully stored. It was simple, with a plain white cover, yet it held something special to her. She opened it and began to read, a soft smile forming on her face. Prologue. When the world feels heavy and the sky turns gray, a gentle light will find its way, with wings of hope both bright and true. It brings kind dreams to me and you. Naruko closed the book for a moment, her thoughts warm and calm. Tomorrow would bring a new journey. But for now, all was peaceful, and that was enough. In a peaceful village hidden among gentle hills and whispering trees, there lived a bright and determined young ninja named Naruto Uzumaki, though everyone now lovingly called her Naruko. Naruko had golden hair that danced in the breeze and a smile that could light up even the cloudiest day. She believed in kindness, hard work, and never giving up, no matter how tricky things became. While other students sometimes rushed through their training, Naruko approached every lesson with curiosity and excitement. One sunny morning, Naruko's teacher gathered the class in an open field. Today, she said gently, you will learn to understand your chakra in new and creative ways. These techniques are not just about strength, they are about balance, patience, and care. Naruko's eyes sparkled. She loved learning new things. The first technique was called Tsukai, the skywalk. Naruko closed her eyes, focusing carefully. She imagined the wind beneath her feet, soft and steady like a friendly cloud. At first, she wobbled and giggled, but she didn't give up. With a small jump and a gentle push of chakra, she found herself standing, just for a moment, on the air itself. I did it! She cheered, her voice full of joy. Her classmates clapped, inspired by her determination. Next, Naruko practiced Kugen, the Air Force technique. Instead of using it to push anything away, she tried something different. She aimed at a pile of fallen leaves, gently releasing a soft gust of wind. The leaves swirled into the air like dancing butterflies, creating a beautiful, spinning pattern. That's so pretty, one of her friends said. Naruko beamed. Techniques can be helpful and fun. Later, she carefully formed a tiny glowing spark on her fingertip, her version of Nenshu Dongan, the combustion bullet. But instead of letting it burst loudly, she focused on making it glow softly like a warm lantern. She flicked it into the air, where it shimmered gently before fading like a star at dawn. As the day went on, Naruko learned even more. With Onmyotan, Tenkyu Hoshiakari, she created small beams of light that sparkled like constellations. She used Hiro Kabekyu no Jutsu to form a gentle, glowing sphere around herself, not to block anything, but to create a quiet space where she could think and breathe. Her teacher watched with a proud smile. "Naruko," she said, "you have a special gift. You don't just learn techniques, you understand them in your own kind way." Naruko scratched her head shyly. "I just think. Everything can be used to help, not just to compete." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in soft oranges and pinks, Naruko sat with her friends. They laughed, shared stories, and practiced little tricks together. Naruko even used a tiny skywalk step to pluck a flower from a tall branch, handing it to a friend. "For you," she said warmly. That evening, as stars twinkled above, Naruko looked up with hope in her eyes. She dreamed of becoming a great ninja, not by being the strongest, but by being someone who lifted others up, just like the wind beneath her feet. And with her kind heart and bright spirit, everyone knew she was already on her way. Dear YouTube family, this isn't goodbye, just a pause in the journey. If you've enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected for what comes next. Thank you for being part of this path. Regards. 6th Path Weeb.